Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIII. Dej, you want a question for me?
Okay, so Jova compared The Last of Us 2 to this game, where you're essentially just progressing and waiting until the next big story event's here.
He did?
Wait, hold on. No, I didn't. If anything, I compared this more...
I'm watching your commentary. You said that. I wrote it down.
Oh, it means in The Last of Us Part 2 commentary, Jova. There's a point where you do bring up... There's a point where you do bring up 13 in comparison to this in some way. I forgot the exact context, but I do remember something like that. I'll have to watch it again, too.
Oh, okay. Because for a moment, I thought you were saying, like, during, like... the point where when it made sense. Regardless, though, okay, so where are you going with this, Dej?
So I'm just like... I'm scared now.
Okay, how about this? How about this? Let me put it this way: Last of Us Part 2 is, for as terrible as it is, at the very least, it has more substantial gameplay to it. Yeah. But in terms of story, it's worse. I will say. Because don't get me wrong. The story in this game is shit too. It's just that it's slightly.
I need you to specify what the context of that comparison was, just to be safe, Dej, because, you know, normally I don't make these kind of comparisons lightly, so what was the context of the comparison?
Already since you guys did that.
You were basically talking, because you guys were in Seattle day one, and you were complaining about, like, the romance between Ellie and Dana, and how it's like, this isn't really shown. You're like, hey, remember that thing? Remember that thing that we did and whatnot?
Oh, so basically, if I recall correctly, that was when I was comparing the fact that when you get down to it, while the gameplay is technically a thing, the gameplay feels more like a shallow vehicle for the game's story. So, in essence, it feels like the only really interesting things to talk about are the story. And
sure.
Yeah, and you know, I guess it kind of applies here. Don't get me wrong, Last of Us 2 definitely has better gameplay, but let's also be honest, the gameplay of Last of Us has never been the most noteworthy thing to write home about.
No.
Oh, it's been clever, it's been good, mainly in the first Last of Us game, but in Last of Us 2, well, okay, at best, it's fine. At worst, well, it's the game trying to make you feel bad for trying to progress because of the story.
That being said...
To bring it back to this game, though, yeah, in a sense here, like I said, this is the closest to what a David Cage game made in Final Fantasy style would be.
I was about to mention instead, so I'll get to that too quickly, Pedro, but one thing that I actually really like, that I will elaborate more later on, is actually the monster design, at least for the boss part, but go on, Pedro.
Oh, it's interesting too, because in the original playthrough, when I did compliment the monster design, you said you didn't care for it.
Well, at least I didn't say that I hated it, at least.
I mean, it's been years since then.
I don't know, but whatever. The point is cutscene. Also, Teo, that behemoth sure was a beta.
Again, you can tell what they're trying to do by showcasing, oh, look at that, people are actually dying left and right. Like
sure. Again, remember what I told you guys to keep in mind about the whole volunteer thing in the previous part? Keep that in mind during this one.
No, you're a fucking idiot.
He is.
And yet, I'm gonna say this, he's still on the better side of characters in this game.
That's sad. But anyway, moving on.
Oh, it's funny.
Payoff, guys.
I told you, didn't I? Moms are tough.
Again, that line is not
even supposed to mean.
That line is not.
It means what it means. She's a mom and she's tough.
The problem is that they're trying to make that line come off as. Oh, and she dies.
And she died.
Well,
I guess
Wait. Hold on, guys. She doesn't die immediately there, though.
And of course, her son has basically a front row seat to see her death.
No, wait, guys. Watch what's going on, though, because she's actually not dead yet.
Let me put it this way.
Watching what happens.
Let me put it this way.
Fine, though.
Let me put it this way, Dej. You can tell the writer wants that line to be a badass line of sorts. The problem is that it's way more badass in his head, clearly.
Like I mentioned, it probably sounded cooler in their head.
Yeah.
And yet somehow Snow's two friends survived that.
Okay, now notice this part. Notice how Snow tries his freaking hardest to. Not to mention, Nora's about to say something stupid.
Get him home. Please.
N.O.R.A, you might want to tell Snow your kid's name. No?
Also, N.O.R.A, maybe you might. Also, N.O.R.A, maybe you might want to try and cling on harder.
Okay, hold on.
Maybe she passes out, but.
Also, like I said, honey, you might. What do you mean, get him home? That's not gonna help. You could have just said, get Hope home. That would have been.
No, but just wait for it, because it doesn't even matter anyway, because No also falls on his own anyway. And yet
Now,
he survives.
No, but remember, Teo, the reason he survives is because of the superpowered trench coat, though.
Well, oh, Pedro, to be fair, how would we know that without, you know...
Yeah.
I think it's this moment that you mentioned, Pedro.
Come on.
Notice how Hope saw the whole thing, or at the very least the game implies
Whoa. I love how she just slapped him to get him back.
Remember, Joba, it was literally a state of shock. That's actually a recommended thing to do.
Notice how the game
actually brings you back to your senses.
Notice how the game just implied that Hope saw the whole thing. So keep that in mind for later.
Keep in mind, Bo, you probably did not. He actually did not hear the dialogue,
Okay.
Bo. He only saw what happened.
Hold on, Teo.
What's gonna happen?
Go on.
Okay, one. You said keep it Pedro Snow. Everyone volunteered. They're gonna say that he forced them to join. And two, Hope is gonna say that you're the reason why my mom's dead, even though she volunteered. Is that where we're going?
Very good,
It's
Dej.
actually worse. What? It's actually a little worse than that, Dej.
You have to
Actually
think in the ways of Toradora, Dej, in a sense that people will not talk to each other for a very long
should I,
time about the matter.
Did I get my side already, Pedro?
No, don't worry, Druids. I'll tell you when the time comes.
Stamp it out here.
There you go. Now we're explaining properly that the purge is a front for execution. There you go.
Death by exile.
Death for exile.
Death by exile, basically.
Relocation to
I'd say that they take you some Dark Knight Rises, but this actually...
Saz, you're not very familiar with governments, are you?
Well, okay, to be fair, by the context of their world, as far as I know, the government is actually meant to help them, and has a benign front, essentially.
And again, we don't know yet, but...
Soldiers are soldiers, aren't they?
I don't know. There's all these different factions that kind of makes the story confusing.
This is why I love Saz. He's basically the only one that has proper human reactions to all of things, you know?
Couldn't shoot. Got himself shot instead.
War is hell. And
How about
such.
Which
then
came
you
out
die.
first, this or Metal
Say
Gear
shoot,
Solid
you
4?
pull the trigger.
Metal Gear Solid 4 came out 2 years before.
Fine. Forget I asked.
Well, War is Hell is not from MGS4.
To be fair, Lightning is actually the way Lightning has actually lived. It actually makes more sense for it to be this kind of cold and borderline dehumanized, because aside of the strict society that we will learn later what Cocoon operates, but Lightning has basically lived mostly like to carry her own and the person that she's looking up, and being indoctrinated also is with a military, kind of training. So
hold on, guys. This is important. Hold on, guys. This is important. You see this mini boss. Okay, here's the strategy on defeating this mini boss, as I'm demonstrating. Mash the A button. Okay, and that was the strategy for defeating Myrmidon. Okay, Myrmidon.
It's actually based on a Latin term for a type of soldier.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is your tutorial on how to 5-star rank Final Fantasy 13. There you go. See?
Go ahead, Jova.
So, having now seen this game in full, I can pretty much mention how Lightning and Saz's chemistry, if I can even call it that, feels very cumbersome.
They're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, we're trying to do exactly the same with Cloud and Barrett. We're talking distance, but Barrett is the more passionate one.
The difference is Barrett would always clash with Cloud. That's
definitely. By the way, that's yes a structure, but it's supposed to be a container for a living being.
As we read in the data log, this is the vestige where the pulse fal'C was discovered.
Yeah, the thing that they excavated.
And yes, no survive, no pain at all. He just gets back right up.
It's not even for the superpowered.
But the mom died.
Just does.
Did Snow fall on her corpse and that cushion his fall?
We don't know. Maybe that was just a scene that they forgot to add in.
So yeah, that's where we are to go.
So yes, that is a fal'C. So I know what you think. Okay, so now I get what fal'Cs are. Oh no.
Not at all.
Trust me. Hold on. Return of the running gag, guys. Because why the fuck not?
Oh, are we?
Yes.
Look at you. You don't have a mom. dork.
There we go. This is one more trick. I hope I deal one heal.
Oh, goody.
Look at
We're
that,
starting with
that.
this
I'm-
one
I-
Doing this
early.
again.
Look
I
like
just
a piece
ca-
of mercy
look.
to you. It's not.
Jova, nothing pleases the mind like a little nostalgia.
Oh my god.
I want off this shit.
Sorry,
Okay.
Shira, no refunds.
Basically, Dej, this character is actually my most hated character in the game, and every time she does something that I recognize as evil, I will play this, which I consider to be her theme.
But I didn't say anything, and no, my life doesn't count. Didn't you?
Wait, what?
No, it was that out of me or Shira having N.O.R.A.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pedro,
Yes, Jova.
are you going to include that interview that I found for our original commentary that mentions the little
Georgia
something
Vancouver.
about the-
Well, if you're talking about Georgia Vancouver's Vanille interview, we already did in the original run.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Are you gonna bring it back up because? Well, okay. Okay. Look,
If you
it's
want
not
to,
obvious.
I can do it if you want me to.
Time to jump.
It might come in handy.
Sure. I mean, we have Dwebs and Deji here, so it might be a good idea as a refresher. Why not?
Yeah, Lightning. How is
I
he supposed?
know the plot because, again.
Oh, now it works.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing about this thing. This thing only works when the plot wants it to. That's the
Like,
thing.
you established clearly the cutscene before, but it was damaged and Lightning was not supposed to use it anymore. That does make sense, you know. You want to limit the gameplay for that. But no, they actually do it here.
Thankfully, he landed there, because otherwise, that he would
Yeah, notice how- Notice how Lightning has complete lack of empathy for Saz and doesn't even bother. Like, keep that in mind because this is going to be a recurring thing with Lightning.
I was actually going to mention that a bit earlier.
Go on.
Go on.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the problem I have with Lightning in general is like, well, she feels like a caricature of the likes of Lightning, of the likes of Squall or Cloud, essentially. Like, instead of actually feeling like a good replica of them, she feels like what, casual fans would think Cloud is. Just, this
Well, it was
dark.
more like the narrative Jova that was pushed around Cloud from the mid-2000s, starting with Advent Children.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm gonna say this. She's still worse than Cloud and Advent Children. At least Cloud and Advent Children. Okay, yes, he was gloomy and whatnot, and that was also a problem. But it didn't feel like he just stopped caring about people, and that's the thing. See, the stuff we learn about Lightning tends to clash with the characterization here. We later learn that Lightning is actually something of a high-ranking general, and one who, despite what the establishment suggested, did have empathy for the men and soldiers.
Gador, what the fuck are you doing?
You're supposed to be the hero.
Trying to stop Snow from doing something stupid,
No,
but letting
more
him
of a
go.
Hey, you moron! If you want to joke around, that's fine, but don't use a fucking loaded gun.
Not to
Read
mention,
it
we
like
don't really
it's
have much
loaded.
time to waste.
And yeah, it turns out Snow's fiance is trapped in there.
Yeah.
I wonder who his fiance. Hold up.
More on that later.
But here's the thing. I forgot if you actually. Well, you did play those games, so you should know. But maybe you forgot, Pedro. Well, you know what's the kicker about the grab code unit? That's the name of the game.
We'll talk about it later. We don't need to explain for now.
Sorry. Well, I don't need to explain to this game though.
Go on.
Anyway.
Sorry, go on, Jova.
Right. So, again, the problem with Lightning is that they try to basically have her be all these things, but then they later have writing that contradicts it. Again, she supposedly cares for no one, but we see in flashbacks that she clearly did care for a lot of people. And again, she did care for her men despite what her officials told her to, so why is she suddenly just cutting down what used to be her men with, no rhyme or reason, no cares, ifs, or buts about it? See, with Cloud, it made sense here. He was going off of Zack's memories, essentially, and obviously Zack had a big falling out with Soldier. What we'll see later is that Lightning didn't even have a big falling out with whichever faction of soldiers she's a part of, but it was more like about that she left on a whim. Again, I won't spoil the circumstances of that, but it feels like this is the kind of story that relies on you not knowing information at a certain point, because if you did know that information, you'd immediately call bullcrap on certain plot points here and there. And man, does Lightning get annoying with it.
We'll be able to see it further along.
Also, yes, we have confirmation that Snow's weapon is actually an emblem, as it was written there in the description on the top. Actually didn't notice until now, but you know what's the kicker about the Lightning's Dracon unit, the one that she did use in the cutscene that we didn't mention? It's actually used in gameplay for Lightning appearances in the Dissidia games.
Yeah.
It's actually for bouncing around.
That's because the Dissidia developers actually know what the fuck they're doing.
So they actually, or maybe we did hear the complaint and they actually did reincorporated that during gameplay. It's not that big of a deal, Jova. It's actually one of the minor gimmicky kind of thing that each character tends to have. In the case of Lightning, if I recall correctly, it's something like when her HPs are down or when she's in X mode, essentially, instead of actually being slammed into a wall, gets bounced off.
A massive object is transported through the sky over the hanging edge. This object is a pulse vestige, a lower world artifact that had been nothing more than a bottom landmark. 2 days ago, it was discovered that the vestige holds a long dormant pulse fal'C. The fal'C had slumbered undisturbed on the outskirts of Cocoon City for centuries. The Sanctum decrees that the presence of the pulse entity and his corrupting magics have tainted the entire population of the city and orders the purge. So basically, overreaction of contamination.
Yeah.
Oopsie. You know what? Considering what's happening right now with my country, this is quite topical for me because because in my country there's still the thing where there's one person's contaminated. Let's immediately remove all the students from class and close down the schools. You know.
Okay. Well, at least we're not killing anyone. Go ahead, Jova.
Well, thank God for small favors, I guess. Go on, Jova.
Might as well dissect that last scene, though. Yeah. So Lightning says, "Time to jump." So she was expecting Saz to jump at the same time as her. Problem, as far as we've seen, that little circular platform that she landed on.
Hold on, Jova.
For her.
I have to explain what fal'C are. fal'C are an existence beyond human comprehension, possessed of incredible magic power. The ones responsible for Cocoon's construction are protectors of humanity, but there are others of their kind as well. The fal'C who dwell on Pulse and name themselves enemies of Cocoon. Take a shot, Whips. Humans who encounter Pulse fal'C are cursed, being turned to Lassie in order to destroy Cocoon. It is for this reason that most ordinary citizens support the Purge. Anyone who may have come into contact with one of these fal'C represents a dire threat. Keep in mind, everybody, we just read this in the dialogue. Believe it or not, the game is going to repeat this over and over and over and over, which is why I made this drinking game.
I guess thank goodness for small favors and them actually explaining something that doesn't have to be explained in the dialogue, but hold on.
Pedro, question, what drink do you have?
Cider as well, naturally.
Anyway.
Well, because I just had little 4 swigs to constitute.
I didn't have any wine, so I bought some cider.
Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier, though. So that circular thing that Lightning landed on, and for gravity-wise, maybe it was written differently in the script, but as far as I saw, there was only room enough for one person to land, so what did Lightning think was going to happen? That Saz would land on her back and somehow the anti-gravity field would work it out well?
Okay, to be fair, it was big enough, and it was, again, Lightning was supposed basically telling to jump right after. She did not wait for him anyway.
Oh, here we are. There you go, too. Hold on, guys, let me explain this. Antimatter Manipulation Principle, AMP, forms the foundation for a variety of technological wonders, enabling phenomena ranging from phase-space interference to the manipulation of gravitational force. Humans ordinarily lack the means to wield magic, but through the use of mana drives, another product of the principle, it is possible to synthesize the fact. So basically, science.
Magitech, because normal humans, it cannot actually wield magic as mentioned. Yes, Java?
Actually, that screenshot there was perfect, though. That field showed that, no, there would not have been enough room for Saz all the way there, unless
he was right above her, again, jumping right after her. She literally did not, otherwise she would have pushed him alongside herself.
Again, though, we don't know how it would have worked that way. Saz doesn't know how it would have worked that way because Lightning didn't bother to tell him.
It's more so that... Sorry.
Let me put it like this. Loner, just because you're a loner doesn't mean you can't just take a few extra seconds to explain, okay, I have this anti-gravity device, here's how it works. So now you can at least go down with some more faith that you won't be a pancake.
Let me put it this way.
Go down.
Let me put it this way. It's like again, we can use Cloud as an example. Cloud was a loner from the beginning of the game, but he still bothered to acknowledge Barrett's existence. You know, whereas Lightning.
For that occasion, well, that's because Cloud only strictly cared about the money, so he had to make sure that the mission was a success and the other people were still alive and in good condition.
Okay, give Cloud credit. He did legit care about Tifa though, and as the remake has expanded on with some. Well, okay, you know what? Never mind. Not gonna bring up the remake because the remake wasn't a thing back then. But taking a page from the original, though, yes, he said he was doing it for the money, but you always got this hint that he truly did care about people. And surprise, surprise, he did. Lightning is not such a character here in this. Granted, you could argue she's technically doing this for selfless reasons, but when you figure out the context of those selfless reasons, well, you'll get to see an even greater reason of why I legit hate Lightning as a character.
Sure, we'll get to it. Also, guys, Snow is in yellow on health. Oh my god, what should I do? Oh wait, I just beat him. Okay. And yeah,
also,
for the record,
no, 5.
For the record, everybody, I'm 14 parts into the recording process, and so far the only bosses that have made me do anything aside from Mashinge were the bosses. And even then, the bosses aren't exactly that hard either.
And compared to the original run, you're actually playing on easy mode, so even the more tougher fights from the original probably are giving you more leisure.
Oh, I understand that too. Go on, Dej.
For Pedro, since you're playing it on easy mode.
We already did this, Dej.
Yeah. When we did the original run, I used the normal mode. So.
There they are.
Go on.
No, I was gonna say, it's like, well,
Cutscene.
that means that you're not trying because you're playing on
Jeez, no.
All right, on my go. Right.
So I guess
soft-looking ass.
So the plan is to just shoot. So the plan is to shoot them like a madman. Great plan, Snow. You're a tactical genius.
Gotta provide some covers before the real fight started, I guess. But yeah, general pattern you're not.
My problem Tim, is that they're supposedly trying to save people from the purge, but instead of maybe we're supposed to interpret that they just knocked down the soldiers instead of killing them. But as far as the game shows things, it really does feel like remember, Godot shot them with a gun, which kind of implies that they was trying to kill them.
Yeah, well, same goes for LeBron, previously.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they're trying to kill them. Trying to kill them. So.
Where's the soul?
Where's the soul of this game? It doesn't exist.
By the way, I mentioned about the soundtrack previously, but this is actually one of the things I actually not really a fan of. Snow's theme. It's not really technically bad in a vacuum, it's fine on its own, but for the context of this game and compared to your typical character theme from a Final Fantasy game, this is just white noise. Nothing more than that.
Pedro, this is 2010 Square Enix.
Yeah, basically.
You got plenty of time for thinking on the way, hero.
Like, I'm sorry, I get what they're also trying to do to have the team convey the whole rambunctious rebel kind of attitude that Snow has, but this is just white noise. I'm sorry.
I don't care. That's a thing too. I don't care for the soundtrack, for most of the soundtrack anyway.
Well, again, I care for the most part, so I want to emphasize the fact that when it does fuck up, for me, it does matter.
Sure.
Also, I suppose now's a good time to mention that the sound design of this game is weird. Now, granted, maybe it was a glitch back in our original run, but okay, this game likes to choose certain musical tunes to play here and there, although sometimes it can feel awfully random. How random? Let me put it like this. In some boss fights that go on long enough, they will for some reason play tune after tune like it's the sound mixer's playlist or something. Again, I don't know if that was a glitch or something, but I distinctly remember that happening in our original playthrough.
No, okay, that could have been a glitch because I can tell the way the game changes soundtrack when it has to be in, while it's not as dynamic as it will happen with 15 and 7 Ring.
Oh god, here we go.
Hi.
Didn't you have something to tell him?
Yeah.
Okay,
Look,
I'm going to
okay,
for the sake of Dwebs and Deji, let me explain the music that I played earlier. I hate Vanille, and every time she does something that I consider evil, like she did earlier when she touched Hope without his permission and basically told him, look, hold on, let me finish, and then just told him, look, just deal with it, basically. She basically just told him to, like even though he's right now just saw his mom dying. But go on.
Okay. Like Tio mentioned, to her credit, they needed to get moving, and he was just standing there frozen. So I would not consider that.
I'm not talking about that scene though. I'm talking about the scene where she hugged him.
She was trying to comfort him. Again, trust me, Vanille does some legit terrible things. I don't consider that one of them.
Yeah, she looks like a cute girl, so how can she be terrible?
Also, expect a lot of axe shots, especially onto her.
So all you have to do is... So apparently she has the power to turn on lights.
And yes,
By
Dwebs.
shouting K.
And yes, Dwebs, as you probably have already noticed, she has an Australian accent.
Okay, question.
I'll mention in a second that.
Is she a robot?
No.
That would have been at least. No, you have to also to remember that Final Fantasy stopped having major non-human party members ever since basically 12.
It's like Vanilla is annoying as crap, but again, you'll be able to see for yourself as we go along.
I was gonna say, speaking of music.
Yes.
The main theme of this game was originally apparently supposed to be done by Nobuo Uematsu, but then he became busy doing the soundtrack for the original Final Fantasy XIV. So Hamazu did the.
Yeah, it was about. Well, I would have mentioned that for the proper soundtrack, but well, actually, I'm pretty about to read more of the data log. So let me instead, I'll talk about the soundtrack later on properly and who Hamazu is, because we never actually talked that much about it outside of 13.2, maybe for the original run. Anyway, I'll talk instead more about. Just quickly about Hope and Vanille's voice actors. But Hope is voiced by Vincent Martella, who is basically Dej. He's Phineas' voice actor.
Snow still cannot shake his feelings.
Vincent Martella?
Yeah.
From Phineas and
well, I know him more.
Hold on, Dej.
Snow still cannot shake his feelings of guilt. Despite his efforts to protect the purge deportees from the Sanctum forces, many have fallen. The death of one woman in particular haunts his thoughts, a mother fighting for the sake of her son, who gave her life to save Snow. And for whatever reason, she didn't feel the need to tell Snow anything about the boy that would help Snow. Like, she literally...
So gave her life. She was standing from a safe distance. They all got taken down because of a stray blast. Wouldn't have mattered how close she was or what not there or here and there.
And again, I have to ask the same question that I asked in the original run. So far, we're like 1 hour into this game, and so far, aside from useless exposition and the death of a person that we don't know anything about and therefore have no reason to care, what exactly has happened? Nothing. Like, seriously.
It's like, so, exactly like The Last of Us.
Wait, part 2 or part 1?
One, well, both. Because I mean, part 1 also had the death of a character we barely knew anything about.
Well, anyway.
I'd argue Tessa's death actually was able to play a factor.
Tessa was the character I actually cared more about that. Sorry, Dweebs. Yeah.
I think Dweebs is talking about Sarah, actually.
I'm gonna say, so, he's voiced by Greg from Everybody Hates Chris.
Well, I haven't watched that, but yes, he stated here.
And also, who could forget his magnificent role as Billy in Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo?
Oh, shut up.
Instead,
never mentioned that movie.
Okay.
Vanille is voiced by... Oh, sorry, go on.
Georgia Van Kuhlberg. But anyway, here we go. This is an example of something, about Vanille. Okay, reminder, we just established for winning in a dialogue. Going near Pulse File C is dangerous. So, now check this out, what Vanilla's about to do.
You okay?
I want to tell him.
My mom died.
Bad touch, maybe?
Say, you know how to fly this?
Yeah, I think so.
How would you know?
Where
I
did
have
you
no
learn
idea
to
how
fly?
you fly.
Why are you...
Push him into a vehicle.
Vanille, if you want to go straight into the wolf's mouth, that's your business, but don't drag this kid with you.
She's also using the excuse of you had to tell Snow, to force him to go there. Also, really bad touch.
And
before you
sorry.
ask no, and before you ask no, Vanilla's not the one that the 13 franchise ships with Hope.
I know, right? You think they will do that, considering also they seem to be of the same age group, at least physically.
No, but instead they ship Lightning with Hope.
Well, only in due time on that front, Jova.
Yeah.
But it's because, okay, I'm going to be able to even elaborate more upon this later when we learn more about Vanille. Because, yeah, Vanille clearly wants to go to the Pulse Vestige to find the Fal'Cie for reasons that we have yet to realize. And since she needs to pilot this thing, but she apparently doesn't know how, she literally just manipulated Hope into driving her there. Straight into the middle of danger.
And yes, this brave resistance force gets their vehicle hijacked by a 14-year-old.
I mean, okay, look, again. Hope did kind of already want to go, so it's more like Vanille nuts. Again, yeah, technically manipulation, but let me put it like this.
Well, she still took advantage of the situation, Jova.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly, but let me put it like this. I guess it's more a case where this is such small potatoes compared to when we really figure out how much she screwed up the plot here that well.
Yeah, without spoiling anything, Dwebs and Dej, let's just say most of what happens in this game is actually her fault.
Again, there's a reason why she's the narrator.
That said, here's honestly the thing about our cast of characters here. The cast of characters, for the most part, feel like a competition to see who can be the worst writing-wise.
Exactly.
Because for as many problems as Vanille has, Hope might actually be more annoying than her.
I guess it varies. I guess your mileage may vary. I can't stand Vanille.
It's funny.
It's two things. One, I hate her character herself, and no disrespect to Georgia Van Krielberg. I'm sure she's a nice lady, but I cannot stand her performance in this game. I'm sorry, like she's so annoying in this game.
Let's look around.
Go on.
She was actually directed to sound this way.
Oh no! That's why I'm not. That's why I said. That's why I said I don't blame her.
The interview that I found for the commentary, which explains how the voice acting was directed for her.
Trust me, I'm not blaming her for the performance. I'm blaming the voice director. The moron should be fired voice director.
Which is funny because actually, I think I recognize the name of the voice director. Hang on, let me check just to be sure.
Just to mention quickly, Georgia Van Kulenberg has most other recognizable role has been a recurring character in Star Wars: The Old Republic.
The voice director is Jack Fletcher, who has done Final Fantasy games before this. He did Final Fantasy X, he did Final Fantasy X-2, he did Final Fantasy XII, Tactics War of the Lions. This game, 32. He also did a whole bunch of Sonic games, the most recent being the Rise of the Wisps short. So he's a very experienced voice director.
Okay, Dwibs, I should let you know we have a bit of a Sonic Adventure 2 case on our hands where the Japanese devs tried to step in and voice direct for some of the English voices.
I have two questions.
While giving Jack Fletcher suggestions, you mean?
Yes, Pedro.
I have two questions. One, how did Vanille know that thing was there? And before anyone says, yes, I do know. But here's the interesting thing about how she knew that binding rod was there.
Very, very lucky.
Now, here's the thing. The game will eventually explain how she knew that thing was there. But here's the interesting thing. We only learn about it way, way later into the story. And the data log, surprisingly, doesn't have any information on that. Because it wants
I guess to be fair, they don't want to pull a Castlevania Lords of Shadow and spoil why she knows where that is.
Oh, sure. That's why I wanted to point that out. Second question.
Go on.
Hope, where did you pull that boomerang from? Because that boomerang is huge.
I think he actually gathered it from the stashed things that were there. It's more the question how he's actually proficient with that, because this is generally something that actually comes out of nowhere. If I recall correctly, the dialogue does mention that Hope is good at throwing things, so it's more of a convenience thing than anything. But yeah, out of nowhere, Hope just finds this boomerang. He's like, well, I guess that's gonna be my weapon of choice.
Honestly, for as deep and dark as they want Hope's character to be, am I the one who finds it hilarious that in such a serious and gripping story, his weapon is literally a toy-looking boomerang?
To get back to Vanille.
I've seen worse weapons, to be honest, Jova.
No.
Series.
I don't mind the weapon itself. What I mean is how it kind of clashes with the tone that the story is trying to go for. Because this story likes to go super duper serious here and there, especially with Hope's
that's actually going to be one of the big problems with this game, the tone. The game is super self-serious and super dramatic and barely has any comedy of any kind. As a result, sometimes the tone can get suffocating.
Pedro, considering what the comedy of 1329 turns ended up to be, maybe it's more of a blessing than anything.
So Jova, would you say you'd be basically if in Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's main weapon was a 60s ray gun?
Oh, hold on. Hold on, guys. I have to read this. It was Snow who convinced his mother to fight. No, it wasn't.
No.
Okay.
Wow, now even the data log is trying to lie.
The best way I can interpret it is by the
hold on,
just translated
guys, hold on. Pulsar C. The beings known as False C possess the power to enthrall unwilling human instruments, compelling the victims to serve their will. These individuals, known as the C, are marked with indelible brands. They gain the gift of magic, but also bear the burden of completing the task known as a focus for their False C master. Pulsar C, tools of False C from the world below, are considered dangerous enemies of Cocoon Society.
Why are we giving you this information now?
As there exists no means of removing the C brand.
More importantly, why are you two doing this to yourselves?
That's their choices, Shirei. We're both adults. I can safely say this, Shirei. We're both adults and vaccinated.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fury, me and Pedro are barely above/below 30, so whatever.
I'm 35 as of this month, so I can drink if I want.
Old.
Yes, I am old. Thank you for reminding me.
But oh god, I forgot what I was saying.
Okay.
The deadline. Again, my guess is that the localizers translated it poorly, because from what I can understand, it seems more of a thing of the Snow's words, inspired Hope's mom to volunteer. That would make sense, because that's actually what happened,
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, we had the Snow,
forced
her to fight.
No. The actual word they used was forced. They used the word force.
Again, I just get the idea that they literally, this was literal poor translation.
Well, Tail, that's the thing, Tail. There is a possible good explanation for that too, but I will bring it up later when it becomes when we have a bit more time. Go on, Jova.
Good.
It's funny you mentioned how stuff has changed, Pedro, because actually, from our original commentary, I actually remember you being more annoyed by Hope than Vanille.
I haven't seen our original commentary in a while, but I'm pretty confident I always hated Vanille the most.
No. I'm not talking about which one you hated the most. I'm talking about which one annoyed you the most.
I buy 99 of those.
Actually, it's because I wanted to showcase one thing that never anybody brings up about this game, but I will because I'm unique. Anyway,
breaking the economy by selling it. I don't.
Basically, here's the thing. You know how usually in an RPG, when you buy a huge quantity of items, it just shows the item X number of how many things you have? No! In this game, they flood your fucking inventory screen of every individual unit of item you've purchased.
That's because of their gimmick about having to be customized, quote unquote, by being leveled up, so each has to be unique on that.
I get that, Tail, but...
You can level up items in this game.
I get that, Tail, but here's the thing. All of them right now are at level 1, so they're all equal. So right now they could group them into numbers. Later, if I level up one of them, then maybe they could separate it into its own unique item slot. That's how it should have been designed.
I forgot if they fix that in 13.2, but I don't think so.
No, in 13.2 they dropped the item upgrading system, so no.
Oh, right.
It's okay. It's because, see, you have to understand, guys. If you buy a shit ton of copies of the same item all at the same time, it will flood your inventory system, and it's annoying. I know that it's not that big a deal because it only becomes a problem when you do something like I do, where I give myself max money from the get-go. I get that, but remember, there are people out there who are grinding obsessive people who will get to a point where they have a shit ton of money to do a purchase on a high quantity level. So it is possible to happen even without hacking.
These also cannot actually help when you're actually trying to hunt down for the achievement as trophy or of possessing every one of each type of weapon, armor, and accessory in the entire game.
Let me also bring up just one more thing about Vanille. See, let me explain a bit to Dibs and Dej. The rest everybody knows, but here's the thing, Dibs and Dej. You might have noticed how when she was trying to get that rod, she was going, like she I'm not even kidding you. That's most of her performance throughout most of this game. She constantly makes noises like that, and it's annoying. And it's gonna get to a point, I'm not even kidding you guys, where it literally sounds like Georgia and Kuhlberg is having an orgasm. To give you guys an idea, when the original run, I literally made a joke of, did she just have an orgasm? And Shiroi's response was, and I quote, I think so. So, and it's, no, trust me.
Believe it or not,
Georgia Van Kuhlberg's performance, Dej, is annoying as fuck. And again, this is not about against her. I have nothing against Georgia. For all I know, maybe she's a really nice lady. She does seem like a nice lady in that interview that we saw.
Remember, I actually did some digging on the interview, and that was the one that revealed that, while they didn't exactly, she was directed to be like that, because they said that they liked her, and I quote, I swear, I'm quoting it like this, her happy noises, as they put it.
That is true.
Mention that before this, her career was basically non-existent.
Yeah, nothing kills an actor's career like a character this bad. No, Joe, but that's the thing. I understand what you mean, because remember, in another part, there's going to be another, way later in the game, when she gets her Eidolon, where she was once again doing her stupid quote-unquote happy noises, and I was annoyed and saying, could you please stop doing that? And Shiroi even said, she's just happy. No, Shiroi, you can be happy without fucking acting like this. This is just not normal.
Don't you see, she's happy in that way.
You know, Pedro, I thought that's what I thought that's where the sentence was going just up. I thought you were going to say you could be happy without fucking, and I'd be like, well, I'm not going to tell you how to be laughing.
Okay.
Have sex then. Okay then.
Okay. So let's just do a recap of our cast of characters. There's Lightning, who's annoyingly stoic and will practically leave her teammates behind to die for no good reason. There's Saz, who's probably the one likable character so far. There's Snow, who's heroic, but incredibly an idiot who kind of got some people killed. There's Hope, who blatantly saw a man trying to save his mother and calculates that as him pretty much killing his mother. And then there's Vanille so far, who, don't worry, you will see her worst later. What a great cast of characters, am I right?
Combined with the fact that the plot at this point in time, if you're not reading the data log, is basically unintelligible. Yeah, you can understand why the game has some of the... Like, even people who like this game typically would at the very least admit that the first 2 chapters are a horrible first impression. Horrible.
Hey, Dwibs, was this the point where you actually quit playing the game?
Yeah, about around this point, if I remember correctly.
Around that point, I never even got to playing as Vanille, which at the very least makes my reaction to a running cycle authentic.
Well, I'm actually curious, Dwibs. When you were playing, how annoyed were you by both the gameplay and the story at that point?
Well, I didn't play enough to really get to that point, if you ask me.
Well, that's why I asked really at that point, essentially, though. I just want to try and get a metric on things.
Sure.
Well, I mean, put it this way. It was 2010, and Final Fantasy's tactic of how they handle turn-based combat, in spite of being more advanced than Pokemon, was still somehow less fun than Pokemon. And Pokemon, all you do is choose one of 4 commands.
I guess you could say that Final Fantasy needed to get some better tactics.
Unfortunately, that's been dead since PS1.
Deji. Alright, that was the joke. Deji, play off Jova.
Yes, well, we'll see if in the next part after Deji finishes off Jova. I mean, when we separate.
See you in the next part, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.